She called the cops on me while standing on my land. Told them I was trespassing. Told them I was dangerous. Told them I didn't belong there. She had a badge, a lawyer, and an HOA behind her. What she didn't have was the truth. And that was her biggest mistake. My name doesn't matter. What matters is the land. My father came back from service with nothing but a promise and a handshake. He saved for 11 years, bought a plot of land on the edge of a quiet neighborhood, built a modest house with his own hands, and told me one thing before he passed. Nobody can take what's legally yours. Nobody. I inherited that property 8 years ago. Paid every tax. Filed every document. Never missed a single year. The land was never part of any HOA. Never enrolled, never annexed, never agreed to. There was a legal boundary recorded with the county 12 years before I even moved in. But neighborhoods change. People move in with money and attitude and a need to control everything they see. And 3 years ago, a woman named Diane became HOA president. That's when the letters started. First polite. Then aggressive. Then threatening. I ignored every single one. One Tuesday morning, I was in my driveway washing my truck when a white car pulled up hard and fast, like she'd been rehearsing the entrance. Diane stepped out in pressed slacks and sunglasses, holding a clipboard like it was a weapon. 2 people I didn't recognize followed behind her like backup. "You've ignored our notices for 3 years," she said, not as a greeting, but as an accusation. I kept washing my truck. "You're in violation of community standards. Your fence, your landscaping, your driveway extension. All of it." I turned off the hose, dried my hands, and looked at her calmly. "I'm not in your HOA," I said. She laughed. Not a real laugh. The kind people use when they want to make you feel small. Everyone in this community is subject to HOA governance. You don't get to opt out just because you feel like it. I looked at her, then at her 2 shadows, and said it again. Slower this time. I am not in your HOA. This land was removed from your jurisdiction 12 years ago. You're standing on private property right now. Mine. She smiled like I'd just told a joke. "We'll see about that." She pulled out her phone and dialed before she even got back in the car. 2 cop cars arrived within 15 minutes. And here's where it goes wrong for her. I didn't run. I didn't panic. I stood in my driveway, hands visible, and waited. Because panic is what people expect from someone they've already decided is guilty. Diane met the officers at the curb before they even finished parking. She was already talking, already pointing, already performing. I could hear fragments from where I stood. "Refuses to comply, aggressive behavior," he threatened me. One officer walked toward me, hand up, calm. "Sir, we received a report of a disturbance. Can you tell me what's going on?" Before I could speak, Diane was beside him. "He's trespassing. This is HOA land. He refuses to leave." The officer looked at her, then at me. I said, "Officer, I own this property. I've owned it for 8 years. I have documentation." She cut in immediately. "He's lying. People like him always have a story." The officer's jaw tightened slightly. He asked me, "Do you have proof of ownership?" I said, "Yes. But give me 1 second to get it, because what I'm about to show you changes everything." I walked to my truck slowly. Both hands visible. No sudden movements. I reached into the center console and pulled out a worn manila folder. I keep it there. Always. Ever since the letters started. My father taught me that paper beats power every time, as long as your paper is real. I turned around and Diane was already shaking her head, performing disbelief for the growing crowd of neighbors watching from driveways and windows. "He probably printed that today," she said loudly. I opened the folder and handed the top document to the officer. He read it slowly. Left to right. Line by line. Then he stopped. He looked up at her and asked, "Are you aware this property was removed from HOA jurisdiction in 2012? The air changed. Her smile didn't disappear all at once. It faded, corner by corner, like something deflating slowly. But she wasn't done yet. And this is the part nobody saw coming. She recovered fast. I'll give her that. That document is forged. He made it up. Don't trust anything he says." Then she did something I didn't expect. She walked past the officers, straight to my front door, and pointed at a bright red lock that had not been there that morning. "We secured the property this morning," she announced. "It's condemned pending HOA review." My chest tightened. Not with fear. With pure, controlled anger. The officer turned sharply. "Who authorized that lock?" "I did," she said, proud. Certain. Like she had already won. My neighbor from across the street stepped onto her porch. Then another one from next door. Phones were out. People were watching. And Diane was standing in front of my locked door like she'd already rewritten the law. I looked at the red lock. Then at her. Then at the officer. And I said, "I need you to look at something else." I pulled out my phone. And you need to hear what was on it. Before I could press play, my phone buzzed. One message. One word. "Here." A black SUV rolled slowly up the street and stopped behind the police cars. The door opened and a man in a plain jacket stepped out. No rush. No noise. Just calm authority. One of the officers straightened immediately and said, "Sir." That one word told me everything. Diane watched him walk toward us and I saw it, the first real flicker of doubt behind her eyes. The man looked at the red lock. Then at the folder in my hand. Then at me. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded. He turned to Diane and asked quietly, "Who told you this property falls under HOA authority?" She opened her mouth. Then closed it. He reached into his jacket and showed his badge just enough to be seen. Because county records say otherwise. I finally pressed play on my phone. The video was 37 seconds long. It showed Diane that morning, standing at my front door, clipboard in hand, directing a man from a private security company to attach the red lock. Her voice was clear. Her instructions were clear. Her smile was clear. "Make sure it's tight. He needs to understand this is over." The silence after the video ended was the loudest sound of the day. "That's edited," she said. But her voice had lost something. The certainty was gone. One neighbor stepped off her porch and said, "She did this to my brother 2 years ago." Another voice from the crowd, "She threatened to report me if I didn't pay extra fees." The officer who had stepped away to call in my documents walked back and said, "Dispatch confirms. This address is fully private. 0 HOA jurisdiction." Her lawyer arrived in a hurry, tires loud, suit crooked, already shouting before he reached us. "This is a misunderstanding. My client was acting within HOA protocol." The man from the SUV stopped him with one question. "Are you aware your client has been collecting HOA fees on land she has no authority over?" The lawyer went completely still. The officer looked at his tablet. Payments going back at least 4 years. Diane screamed from where she stood. "Don't listen to him. They're all against me." The lawyer took one slow step backward. Then another. The officer reached for his cuffs. She tried to step back. He was calm, quiet, and certain. "You filed a false police report, ordered an illegal lockout, and collected fees under false authority." The cuffs clicked. She screamed like something had been taken from her. It had. The illusion of power. As they walked her past the neighbors, her phone hit the ground face up. The HOA group chat still glowing on the screen. "Did he leave yet? Tell the cops he's dangerous. We'll back you up." The man from the SUV picked it up, scrolled once, and handed it to the officer. "Add conspiracy," he said quietly. Her knees nearly buckled. I walked to my door, cut the red lock myself, and pushed it open. My house was quiet. Untouched. Exactly as I'd left it. I stood in the doorway and looked back at the street where she had tried to erase me. I thought about my father. The 11 years he saved. The hands that built this place. The one thing he told me before he left this world. Nobody can take what's legally yours. And I said what needed to be said. You don't get to steal land just because you're loud. This was my father's land. My land. And no clipboard, no HOA president, no red lock, and no manufactured power was ever going to change that. The cars pulled away. The crowd slowly went back inside. The street went quiet again. And for the first time in 3 years, so did I. If this story hit different, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like and subscribe for more stories about people who refuse to be erased.